Hi everybody. So I left off the last video talking about how you can navigate a workplace environment where you have a covert and overt narcissist working together. Now, I want to put out the caveat that ideally you should never want to be in these environments, and you should always be looking for a way to exit these environments. But just suppose, let's say for the sake of imagination, you can't do that. Let's say you don't have a job lined up. Let's say it's your first job. Let's say somebody helped you out, helped you get this job, and now you feel like you have to keep it for a while. Let's say you have children you need to feed. Let's say any number of situations can happen. You're a doctor and you need this residency because otherwise you're not going to get a job after finishing the residency. Any number of situations can be in play. And let's say you have a narcissist in your midst. How do you get them to leave you alone? Or how do you get them to stop fishing for supply? How do you counter-manipulate them? And the answer to that is through kindness. Killing them with kindness. Let's say that the covert narcissist is targeting you, and their reputation is already that of a very positive person in the community, a very sweet, lovable, affable little teddy bear who runs around and loves the children and loves the animals and helps the charities, etc., etc., etc. And let's say you know that this person is narcissistic and that they're basically using this happy-go-lucky facade as a cloak in order to abuse people that are vulnerable or that are close to him or her. How do you deal with that, and how do you get them? How do you basically beat them at their own game? Now, as I said in my previous video, the answer is not to use the same methodology that you would use, that they would use on you. The answer is not to be passive-aggressive, not to be rude, not to be obnoxious, because if they're in a position of authority over you, that's exactly what they want you to be like. They want you to be obnoxious and tired and, impulsive and mentally unstable so that they can turn around and say, look at her, she's impulsive, she's mentally unstable, she's not nice, she's rude, etc., etc., let's fire her. That's the number one thing that they're fishing for, that they're baiting for. They're baiting for that depressed emotion, for that negative emotion, for that sadness, for that look of disarray on your face when they pull a fast one on you. So the only thing that you can do in these situations in order to disarm the narcissist is to either go gray rock or to be excessively optimistic, happy, and positive. Alright? So you turn every single negative comment that they say into a positive comment. Because for them, positivity, optimism, happiness is toxic in and of itself. So, for example, let's say they say something about your shoes or something about your bag. The proper reaction to something like that is like, wow, I really love this bag. I bought it last year on an outlet, and it served me so well ever since, right? Or let's say they comment on how you write and say, you know what, that's actually one of my favorite things about myself, is that I have really good writing skills, and everybody always compliments me on that. So even if they don't agree with you, they cannot agree with you, you have already neutralized their hunt for that narcissistic supply by being positive. Even in the midst of their trying to criticize you or berate you, you've actually inverted the balance of power. The power goes back to you when you're positive in the midst of their negativity, because positivity is arsenic for them. If you let them know that their comment made you remember something positive about yourself, or something that's positive about what they're trying to negate, that is when you're basically disemboweling them, because they were looking for you to be upset. They were looking for you to be upset and grieved and pissed and scared that you're going to lose your job. And here you are, standing your ground and throwing positive vibes at them, even though they're trying to extract that energy from you. And in doing that, you preserve your energy, because the mind is very powerful. So if the mind basically affirms what they negate, the mind will process the last thing you said to it, or the last thing you threw out into the environment. So if they try to get you to capitulate and start, trying to justify yourself, trying to reason with them, then they win. They win. But if you affirm yourself or a coworker or a project or whatever it is that they're trying to negate, that basically defeats them right then and there. That stops them in their tracks. Right? So, that's rule number 1. Rule number 2, gray rock. When the situation calls for it, don't emote. Let's say they say a whole bunch of shit about somebody. Just don't emote. Just stay still and do not give any sort of opinion to them. If they fish for an opinion, say something affirmative about whoever they're trying to throw under the bus. So this way, you do not look like the bad guy. You look like the person that's always trying to rectify any sort of negativity that they're trying to create. And like I said, the caveat is, if you have a chance not to deal with them, don't deal with them. Quit this job. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Because it is stressful in general to deal with them. To know that they exist in the workspace. To know that at any second they can just make some shit up that you have to then countervail or defend or whatever. It is very stressful. But I'm just saying, if you want to stay for whatever reason, this is the way to go about it. You're not going to hurt them by expressing the truth about them or anything. You're going to really hurt them when you show them that there is absolutely nothing they can say. There is absolutely nothing that they can do that will make you emotionally unstable or emotionally off the rails. When you show them that, there is one of two things that can happen. They can either fire you, which is a blessing in disguise, or they can leave you alone, because they understand that you are a bad source of supply for them. That every single time they're going to try to extract that negative emotional energy, that you are always going to punch them in the gut with positivity or with indifference. The secret is to not give them what they want. Okay? To not give them what they want. And in order to do that, it takes more energy than is called for, because you have to keep in mind that you're dealing with a person that has completely different motives from you. So if you give them positivity, that will make them upset. And it's very counterintuitive, because you'd think, okay, in a normal interaction, if I give them positivity, then I'm betraying myself, or I'm betraying the situation to them, or I'm capitulating. But that is not the case. The more positivity you throw at them, the more weakened they are, the more upset they are, the more frustrated they are, because they're wired in a completely different way from you and me. And you really have to keep that in mind. So that's all I wanted to say. Take care. Kisses.